Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'd like to delve into the soothing world of ASMR, inspired by the poetic elegance of Khalil Gibran classic book, The Prophet. We will explore how its serene passages can enhance the ASMR experience, providing calm and tranquility. This beautifully crafted work, known for its lyrical style, serves as the perfect backdrop to discover the comforting and peaceful effects of ASMR. Also, if you have a story you would like to hear, and it is public domain, drop a comment below and I'll see what I can do. As we go on a journey of self-discovery, tranquility and inner peace. Grab yourself a cushion, and if it's a nice evening where you are, take me with you and go and sit outside. If you don't have an outside, that's also okay. Sit anywhere quiet, as long as you're comfortable. Switch off notifications on your phone, close your eyes, take 1 or 2 deep breaths and relax. Tonight's story comes from a book called The Prophet of Khalil Gibran. Al-Mustafa, the chosen and the beloved, who was drawn unto his own day, he waited 12 years in the city of Orphalese for his ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. He climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward, and beheld his ship coming with the mist. Then the gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea, and he closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart, "How shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in the spirit shall I leave the city. Long were the days of pain I spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from his pain and his aloneness without regret? Too many fragments of spirits I have scattered in these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked among the hills. I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. Nor is it I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst. Yet I cannot tarry longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. For to stay, though the hours burn in the night, is to freeze and crystallize and be bound in a mold. Fain would I take with me all that is here, but shall I? A voice cannot carry the tongue, and the lips that gave it wings. Alone must it seek the ether, and alone and without his nest shall the eagle fly across the sun. Now when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again towards the sea, and he saw his ship approaching the harbour, and upon her prow the mariners, the men of his own land. And in his soul he cried out to them, and he said, "Sons of my ancient mother, you riders of tides, how often have you sailed in my dreams, and now you come in my awakening, which is my deeper dream. Ready am I to go, and my eagerness with sails full set awaits the wind. Only another breath will I breathe in the still air, only another loving look cast backward. Then I shall stand among you, a seafarer among seafarers, and you, vast sea, sleepless mother, who alone are peace and freedom to the river and the stream, only another winding world does stream make, only another murmur in its glade. And then shall I come to you, a boundless drop to a boundless ocean. As he walked, he saw from afar men and women leaving their fields and vineyards and hastening towards the city gates. And he heard their voices calling his name and shouting from the field to field, telling one another the coming of his ship. And he said to himself, shall the day of parting be the day of gathering? And shall it be said that my eve was truth, my dawn? And what shall I give unto him who has left his plough in mud furrow, or him who has stopped the wheel of his winepress? Shall my heart become a tree heavy laden with fruit, that I may gather and give unto them? And shall my desires flow like a mountain, that I may fill their cups? I am a harp, that the hand of the mighty may touch me, or a flute, that his breath may pass through me. A seeker of silences am I, and what treasure have I found in silences, that I may dispense with confidence? In this my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed? And in the unremembered seasons. If this is indeed my hour in which I lift up my lantern, it is not my flame that shall burn therein. Empty and dark shall I raise my lantern, and the guardian of the night shall fill it with oil, and he shall light it also. These things he said in words, but much in his heart remained unsaid, for he himself could not speak his deeper secret. And when he entered the city, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out his name with one voice. And the elders of the city stood forth and said, go not yet away from us. A noontide have you been with us in our twilight, and your youth has given us dreams to dream. No stranger are you among us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. Suffer not yet our eyes to hunger for your face. And the priestesses said unto him, let not the waves of the sea separate us now, and the years you have spent in our midst become a memory. You have walked among us as a spirit, and your shadow has been a light upon our faces. Much have we loved you, but speechless was our love, and with veils it has been veiled. Yet now it cries aloud unto you. You would stand revealed before you. And ever has it been that love knows not its own depths until the hour of separation. And others came also, and entreated him, but he answered them not. He only bent his head, and those who stood near saw his tears falling upon his breast. And he and the people proceeded towards the great square before the temple. And there came out of sanctuary a woman whose name was Almitra. She was a seeress. And he looked upon her with exceeding tenderness, for it was she who had first sought and believed in him when he had been but a day in their city. And she hailed him, saying, Prophet of God, in quest of the utmost, long have you searched the distances for your ship. And now your ship has come, and you must needs go. Deep is your longing for the land of your memories, and the dwelling place of your greater desires. And our love would not bind you, nor needs hold you. Yet this we ask ere you leave us, that you speak to us and give us your truth. And we will give it unto our children, and they unto their children, and it shall not perish. In aloneness you have watched with our days, and in your wakefulness you have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. Now, therefore, disclose to us, people of Orphalese, of what can I speak save of that which is even now moving amongst your souls? Then said Almitra, Speak to us of love. And he raised his head, looked upon the people, and there fell a stillness upon them. And with a great voice he said, When love beckons to you, follow him. Though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, you yield to him. Though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you, and when he speaks to you, believe in him. Though his voice may shatter your dreams, as the north lays waste the garden. Even as love crowns you, so shall you crucify you. Even as he is in your growth, so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in the clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you unto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if you fear, you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it's better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives naught but itself, and takes naught but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should say, God is in my heart. When you love, You should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires. To melt and be like the running brook that sings its melody to the night. To know the pain of too much tenderness. To wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise on your lips. Then Almitra spoke again and said, And what of marriage, master? And he answered, saying, You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Ay, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the wings of heaven dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of the lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, Speak to us of children. And he said, Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are within you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer seeks the mark on the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows might go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. Then the rich man said, Speak to us of giving. And he answered, You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. And he answered, You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. For what are your possessions but things you keep and guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the over-prudent dog, bearing his bone in the trackless sand as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need but need itself? It is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable. There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes their gifts unwholesome. There are those who have little and yet give it all. These are the believers in life, and the bounty of life and their coffers is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And there are those who give and know not the pain of giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in the yonder valley the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space. Through the hands of such as these God speaks, and from behind their eyes he smiles upon the earth. It is well to give when asked, but it is better to give unasked, through understanding. And to the open-minded, the search for one who shall receive is joy greater than giving. And to the open-handed, the search for one who shall receive is greater than the giving. And it is aught, and is there aught you would withhold? All of you shall one day be given. Therefore give now, that the season of giving may be yours, and not your inheritors. You often say, I would give, but only to the deserving. The trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give, and they may live, for to withhold is to perish. Surely he who is worthy to receive in his days and nights is worthy of all else from you. And he who has deserved to drink from the ocean of life deserves to fill his cup from your stream. And what desert greater shall there be than that which lies in the courage and the confidence, nay, the charity of receiving? And who are you that men should rend their bosom and unveil their pride, that you may see their worth naked and their pride unabashed? See first that in yourself deserve to be the giver and an instrument of giving. For in truth it is life that gives unto life. Will you, who deem yourself a giver, or not be but a witness? For in truth it is life that gives unto life, while you, who deem yourself a giver, are but a witness. And you receivers, and you are all receivers, assume no weight of gratitude, lest you lay a yoke upon yourself and upon him who gives. Rather rise together with the giver on his gifts as on wings. For to be over mindful of your debt is to doubt his generosity, who has the free-hearted earth for mother and God as the father. Then the old man, a keeper of the inn, said, "Speak to us of eating and drinking." And he said, "Would that you could live on the fragrance of earth, and like an air plant be sustained by light. But since you must kill to eat, and rob the newly born of its mother's milk to quench your thirst, let it be an act of worship, and let your board stand at an altar which the pure and the innocent of the forest and the plain are sacrificed, for which is purer and still more innocent than man. When you kill a beast, you say to him in your heart, by the same power that slays you, I too am slain, and I too shall be consumed. For the law that delivered you into my hand shall deliver me into a mightier hand. Your blood and my blood is naught but the sap that feeds the tree of heaven. And when you crush an apple with your teeth, say to it in your heart, your seed shall live in my body, and the buds of your tomorrow shall blossom in my heart. And your fragrance shall be of my breath, and together we shall stand and rejoice through the seasons. And in the autumn, when you gather the grapes of your vineyards for your winepress, say in your heart, I too am a vineyard, and my fruit shall be gathered for the winepress. And like new wine, I shall be kept in internal vessels. And in the winter, when you draw the wine, let there be in your heart a song for each cup. And let there be a song of remembrance for the autumn days, and for the vineyard, and for the winepress. Then the plowman said, Speak to us of work. He answered, saying, You work that you may keep peace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. When you work, you are a flute, through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say unto you that when you work, you fulfill a part of the earth's furthest dreams, assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself in labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with the life's most intimate and inmost secrets. But if you in your pain call birth an infliction, and the support of the flesh a curse written upon your brow, then I answer that naught but the sweat of your brow shall wash away that which is written. You have been told also that life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what is said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge, and all urge is blind save when there is knowledge, and all knowledge is vain save when there is work, and all work is empty save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself, and to one another, and to God. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as your beloved were to eat of the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit, and to know that all blessed dead are standing around you and washing. Often have I heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, "He who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than those who plough the soil. And he who seizes the rainbow to lay it on the cloth in the likeness of man is more than he who makes the sandals on your feet." But I say, not in sleep, but in the over-wakefulness of the noontide, that the wind speaks not more sweetly to the giant oaks than to the least of the blades of grass. And he alone is great, who turns the voice of the wind into a song made sweeter by his own loving. Work is love made visible. And when you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who can work with joy. For if you bake bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half a man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of the grapes, your grudge distills a poison into the wine. And if you sing those angels and love not the singing, you muffle man's ears to the voice of the day and the voice of the night. Then a woman said, "Speak to us joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the selfsame well from which your laughter rises was ofttimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burnt in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes the spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? And when you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is not only that which gives you sorrow, but that which has given you joy. And when you are sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you shall see, in truth, you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Today they come, and when one sits alone with you and you're bored, remember the other is asleep in your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at a standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and silver, needs must your joy or sorrows rise and fall. Then a mason came forth and said, "Speak to us of houses." And he answered and said, "Build of your imaginings a bower in the wilderness, ere before you build a house in the city walls. For even as you have a homecoming in the twilight, so has the wanderer in you an ever distance to be alone. Your house is your larger body. It grows in the sun and sleeps in the stillness of the night, and it is not dreamless. Does not your house dream, and dreaming leave the city for grove on a hilltop? Would that I could gather your house in my hand, and like a sower scatter them in the forest and the meadow. Would the valleys were your streets, and the green paths of your alleys, that you might seek another through the vineyards, and come with fragrance of earth on your garments. But these things are not yet to be. In their fear, your forefathers gathered you too near together, and that fear shall endure a little longer. A little longer shall your city walls separate your hearts from your fields. And tell me, people of Orphalese, what have you in those houses? What is it you guard with fastened doors? Have you peace, the quiet urge that reveals your power? Have you remembrances, the glimmering arches that span the summits of your mind? Have you beauty that leads the heart from things fashioned of wood and stone to the holy mountain? Tell me, have you of this in your houses? Or have you only comfort and the lust for comfort? That stealthy thing that enters your house as a guest and then becomes a host and then a master. Ay, and it becomes a tamer, and with a hook and scourge it makes puppets of your larger desires. Though its hands are silken, its heart is of iron. It lulls you to sleep only to stand by your bed and jeer at the dignity of the flesh. It makes mock of your sound senses and lays them in thistledown like fragile vessels. Verily, the lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul, and then walks grinning to the funeral. But you, children of space, you relentless in rest, you shall not be trapped nor tamed. Your house shall not be an anchor, but a mast. It shall be a glistening film that covers a wound, but an eyelid that guards the eye. You shall not fold your wings that you may pass through the doors, nor bend your heads they may strike against the ceiling, nor fear to breathe lest the walls should crack and fall. You shall not dwell in the tombs made by the dead for the living. And through the magnificence and splendor, your house shall not hold your secret, nor shelter your longing. For that which is boundless in you abides in the mansion of the sky, whose door is the morning mist, whose windows are the songs of silence in the night. And the weaver said, "Speak to us of clothes." And he answered, "Your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find them a harness and a chain. Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of skin and less of raiment. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is the wind. Some say it is the north wind who has woven the clothes we wear. And I say, ay, it was the north wind. But shame was its loom, and the softening of the sinews was his thread. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. Forget not that modesty is his shield against the eye of the unclean. And when the unclean shall be no more, what will modesty but a fetter and a fouling of the mind? And forget not that earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the wind longs to play in your hair. And the merchant said, "Speak to us of buying and selling." And he answered and said, "To you the earth yields her fruit, and you shall not want if you but know how to fill your hands. It is an exchange of gifts of the earth that you may shall find abundance and be satisfied. Yet, unless the exchange be in love and kindly justice, it will but lead some to greed and others to hunger. When in the marketplace, you toilers of the sea and fields and vineyards, meet the weavers and the potters and the gatherers of spices. Invoke then the master spirit of the earth to come into your midst and sanctify the scales and the reckoning that weighs value against value, and suffer not the barren-handed to take part in your transactions, who would sell their words for your labor. To such men you shall say, Come with us to the field, or go with your brothers to the sea and cast your net, for the land and the sea shall be bountiful to you, even as it is to us. And if there come the singers and the dancers and the flute players, buy of their gifts also, for they too are gatherers of fruit and frankincense, and that which they bring, though fashioned of dreams, is raiment and food for your soul. And before you leave the marketplace, see that no one has gone his way with empty hands. For the master spirit of the earth shall not sleep peaceful upon the wind until the needs of the least of you are satisfied. Then one of the judges for the city stood up and said, Speak to us of crime and punishment. And he answered, It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind that you, alone and unguarded, commit a wrong unto others, and it is therefore unto yourself. And for that wrong committed must you knock and wait a while, unheeded at the gate of the blessed. Like the ocean is your God self, it remains forever undefiled. And like the ether, it lifts but the winged, even like the sun is your God self. It knows not the ways of the mole, nor seeks it in the holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man, but a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the mist, searching for his own awakening. And of the man in you would I now speak, for it is not he, and not your God-self, nor the pygmy in the midst, that knows crime and the punishment of crime. Oft times have I heard you speak of one who commits a wrong, as though he were not one of you, but a stranger unto you, and an intruder upon your world. But I say that even as the holy and the righteous cannot rise beyond the highest which is in each one of you, so the wicked and the weak cannot fall lower than the lowest of which is in you also. And as a single leaf turns not yellow, but with the silent knowledge of the whole tree, so the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of you all. Like in prosecution, you walk together towards your God-self. You are the way of the wayfarers. And when one of you falls down, he falls for those behind him, a caution against a stumbling stone. And when he falls for those ahead of him, who, though faster and is sure of foot, yet remove not the stumbling stone. And this also, though the word lie heavy upon your hearts, the murdered is not unaccountable for his own murder, and the robbed is not blameless for being robbed. The righteous is not innocent of the deeds of the wicked, and the white-handed is not clean in the doings of the felon. Yea, the guilty is ofttimes the victim of the injured, and still more often the condemned is the burden-bearer for the guiltless and the unblamed. You cannot separate the just from the unjust, and the good from the wicked, for they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white woven together. And when the black thread breaks, the weaver shall not look into the whole cloth, and shall examine the loom also. If any of you would bring to judgment the unfaithful wife, let him also weigh the heart of the husband in scales, and measure his soul with the measurements. And let him who would lash the offender look into the spirit of the offended. And if any of you would punish in the name of righteousness, and lay the axe onto the evil tree, let him see its roots, and verily will find the roots of the good and the bad, and the fruitful and the fruitless, all entwined together in the silent heart of the earth. And you judges who would be just, and what judgment pronounce you upon him, who though honest in the flesh, yet is a thief in the spirit? What penalty lay you upon him who slays in the flesh, yet is himself slain in the spirit? And how prosecute you him who is in action a deceiver and an oppressor, yet who also is aggravated? And how prosecute you him who in action is a deceiver and an oppressor, yet who also is aggrieved and outraged? And how shall you punish those whose remorse is already greater than their misdeeds? Is not remorse the justice which is administered by the very law which you would fain to serve? Yet you cannot lay remorse upon the innocent, nor lift it from the heart of the guilty. Unbidden shall it call in the night, that men may wake and gaze upon themselves. And you who would understand justice, how shall you unless you look upon the deeds in the fullness of the light? Only then shall you know that the erect and the fallen are but one, standing in twilight between the night of his pygmy self and the day of his God self, and that the cornerstone of the temple is not higher than the lowest stone of its foundation. Then the lawyer said, "But what of our laws, master?" And he answered, "You delight in laying down laws, yet you delight more in breaking them, like children playing by the ocean, who build sand towers with constancy and then destroy them with laughter. But while you build your sand towers, the ocean brings more sand to the shore. And when you destroy them, the ocean laughs with you. Verily, the ocean laughs always with the innocent. But what of those whom life is not an ocean, and the man-made laws are not sand towers, but to whom life is a rock, and the law a chisel, which they would carve it in their own likeness? What of the cripple who hates dances? What of the ox who loves his yoke and deems the elk and deer of the forest stray and vagrant things? What of the old serpent who cannot shed his skin and calls all others naked and shameless? And of him who comes early to the wedding feast, and when overfed and tired goes away, saying that all feasts are violation and all fasts lawbreak? What shall I say of these, save that they too stand in the sunlight, but with their backs to the sun? They see only their shadows, and their shadows are their laws. And what is the sun to them but a caster of shadows? And what is it to acknowledge the laws but to stoop down and trace their shadows upon the earth? But you who walk facing the sun, what images drawn on the earth can hold you? You who travel with the wind, what weather vane shall direct your course? What man's law shall bind you and break you to the yoke, but upon no man's prison door? What law shall you fear if you dance, but stumble against no man's iron chains? And who is he that shall bring you to the judgment, if you tear off your garment, yet leave it in no man's path? People of Orphalese, you can muffle the drum, and you can loosen the strings of lyre, but who shall command the skylark not to sing? And that concludes tonight's storytelling. We're about halfway through the book, which I will continue with next time. So let us carry forward the lessons we've learned. Embrace the dual nature of reason and passion, allowing logic to guide you while still making space for the activities and pursuits that spark your joy and engagement within you. And above all, practice self-compassion, for it is only through kindness towards ourselves that we can cultivate true inner peace. I hope this journey through the timeless wisdom of the Prophet has provided you, my kindred spirits, with a sense of solace and perspective in the face of anxiety. May the poetic words of Gibran offer you comfort, reminding you that the struggles we endure are inherent to human experience, and that by opening our hearts to the present moment, we can find acceptance and even beauty in the difficulties that life brings. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Seek support when needed, and continue to explore the tools and resources that can help you manage anxiety in a holistic and nurturing way. I encourage you to revisit the wisdom of the Prophet whenever you feel the weight of worry becoming too heavy to bear. Until we meet again for the conclusion of the book, I wish you courage, resilience, and moments of tranquility amidst this chaos of life. Take care, my kindred spirits. You may find the strength to embrace both the challenge and the beauty that awaits you on your path. Until next time, keep looking up, seek peace. Good night.